Oh boy, has it been a very, very interesting week. In fact, no day is ever a dull day here in the NBL, but in the lead up to what's coming up for round 8, there's been a lot of different things going on and off the court. I'm Jack Heverin. Derrick Rucker joins me as always ahead of a doubleheader for Thursday Night Hoops. Ruck, morning.
Good morning, Jack, and a big one. I love these Thursday night doubleheaders. It just gets the round off to such an exciting start.
Why don't we jump into that first, and then we'll pick up a few of the other tidbits a little bit later on. You and I are both on the call for Brisbane and Melbourne tonight. If you're a Bullets supporter, should you be seriously concerned copping a Melbourne team who were demolished last week, coming to Brisbane looking for vengeance?
We know how Dean Vickerman gets his teams ready after a disappointing loss. And Jack, to say that loss they had against New Zealand was disappointing would be one of the great understatements of the season. That was an absolute demolition. I was shocked watching that game with how poorly Melbourne United played. But if you were Brisbane watching that game or any Brisbane supporters, you're fuming. You're fuming. You know that is not going to happen 2 times in a row. And guess who loves coming here and torching the Brisbane Bullets on the regular? Chris Golding. Yes, he comes in here all the time, Jack. We saw it last year, late in the season when we called the game here. Melbourne United feel really comfortable playing in Brisbane, and I don't think that they're going to find any trouble tonight from the Bullets.
Haven't beaten Melbourne, Brisbane, since round 8 of the 2021 season.
Wow. So, look, it's one of those things. The streak is bound to end, but I just don't see it tonight. I just don't think Brisbane are well-equipped enough to handle what they're going to face.
James Bateman, we touched on it in moments that mattered earlier in the week. Now that you've had a few more days to think about it, and given how big this game is, and it's not just a big game, Ruck, for Brisbane who need wins. It's a Thursday night game. It's a national audience. They've got Melbourne United coming to town. This is a big one for the organisation as a whole. Would you start James Bateman?
It's time. And just purely on the basketball side of it, Brisbane get off to really poor starts. So let's go with our best offensive lineup and see if we can get some points on the board. We know Melbourne United are going to come in here, really focus on the defensive end. They're the number 1 defensive team in the competition. The Bullets are number 7 offensively. So I just feel, Jack, strategically, you've got to put your best offensive lineup out there. You're at home, and the Bullets need to get out to a strong start. Also, Jack, they haven't had a good start to the season, but they're still 3-4. If they were able to steal one tonight, they're right in the 6 and in the mix.
Which is remarkable. Well, even just the way that we're talking about Brisbane, we are talking about them like they are a bottom 3 team right now. It's a good point. If they win tonight, they're at 500.
But we are speaking about that because I think you called all of their wins, and they haven't been any convincing wins. As I said in Moments That Matter earlier in the week, I have them as having 0 quality wins. Obviously, if they were to steal one tonight, they get a big quality win.
No Deng Adel. Brisbane have said that it's at least another 2 weeks with a leg issue.
Yeah, he's got a groin problem that he sustained several weeks ago. And with those lower body injuries, you have to really be careful. When you think it's ready, probably give it another week or 2. And it's just up to the rest of the side to maintain, keep their nose above water until they can get him back.
Speaking of injuries, Bryce Cotton spoke on NBL Now yesterday with Pete Julio. I love hearing Bryce talk, to be honest. I think the Wednesday edition, the players' perspective, Angus Glover was brilliant last week. It just gives us something different. But Bryce said that he's going okay. He's getting fitter. He's getting stronger, but he's still not ready to go.
The league feels weird without Bryce playing on a weekly basis. And fortunately, I mean, he's probably not feeling like it was good luck. But we do get to hear from him almost on a weekly basis, so it does give us our Cotton fix. But the Wildcats are similar to the Bullets. They just need to accumulate wins here and there. And I think in the lead up to the FIBA break, their schedule is kind of soft before, and then coming out of it, they have a chance to go on a run and accumulate some wins, get Bryce back. No need to rush him back. And I don't mind how the Wildcats are looking right now.
Yes, but they've got to defend. Defense cannot be the thing that surrounds RAC Arena. They have to play it, Ruck.
You're right. And there are a couple of teams in that category. If they don't lift on the defensive end, things are going to get really tough. and I put Adelaide in that grouping as well. Some of these teams got to sit down in a stance, stop their man, and try and figure out a way. Because keep in mind, if you play a team like Tasmania, even though you may be more talented and playing better, Tasmania, because of their defensive strength, are still able to slow you down on any given night.
Let's talk about the Jack Jumpers. They've been in the news this week. The guys on Overtime on Tuesday had some really strong opinions, and I agree with a lot of them as well. Scott Roth has said that they're not giving up on the season, and they're also not making a change. So you and I spoke about that on Monday. Now that they're not going to make a change, certainly ahead of tonight anyway, what can they do differently? What can they throw at Perth that either they're not expecting or is something other than what they've been doing so far this season?
Some of this is just relying on your talent to eventually shine. They need Crawford and Doyle to lift their games. It's just that simple. Their usage is extremely high. These guys get plenty of touches. They get many opportunities to impact the basketball game. They've got to start knocking down shots. Basketball is a make-or-miss situation most of the time, and when you're missing, you get the results that Tasmania are getting. Defense, stay strong as you are, but if they can just lift their offensive output, and I think, Jack, they need to play faster now.
Yep.
They need to look for easier opportunities. I'm not sure playing half-court offensive basketball is the best way for them to attack getting 80, 85 points in a game.
They're a really interesting case. They're obviously in Perth tonight to play the Wildcats, and then they host New Zealand on Saturday. And this New Zealand team that's coming at them is full of confidence right now.
So I've been around the league a long time, Jack, and I feel that New Zealand are due for a down game. I have no rhyme or reason, but we just know how this league works. Teams rarely just continue to pop and dominate. Something's got to fall off a little bit for New Zealand. I wouldn't be surprised if it was this round.
So tomorrow night, we get through tonight. Tomorrow night is Sydney versus Southeast Melbourne at Kudos Bank Arena. Brian Goorjian coaching against Southeast Melbourne. There's a really cool story in News Corp this morning that in December, early December, I think it is, the Phoenix are going to host the Cairns Taipans and wear the Magic uniforms, which is awesome. That's my childhood right there, being a Southeast Melbourne Magic supporter. But it's a big night for Brian. It's an even bigger night for Geordie Hunter and Angus Glover when they play their former teams in Sydney for the first time. What will be going through their heads?
These emotions are so strange, and I'm sure Geordie and Angus have a certain feeling about the Sydney Kings that may not be the most positive. We heard all types of rumors about why Jordan Hunter didn't re-sign there. Obviously, Angus Glover fell out of favor about halfway through the season and was banished, which was one of the craziest moves of the past 5 years in the NBL.
I have nothing positive to say about that.
And you're right. And now Glover has gone on. Now, because Glover and Hunter are playing good basketball, maybe some of that animus and that anger that they have towards the Sydney Kings has been alleviated, and they're really locked in and focused on what they had to do. But once they walk through those doors at Kudos Bank, Jack, and the juices start flowing, I expect high emotion from Glover and from Hunter, and these are two guys that can change the fortune of your team. It's going to be a really hard game for Sydney to get away with, even though they're playing at home.
Can you be over-emotional? Can you expend too much energy in thinking about all of these other things rather than what you should be focusing on?
The big thing is doing exactly that and finding yourself into foul trouble or trying to do too much too soon. But I think the way the Phoenix are playing right now with really good role clarity and then seemingly a strong understanding amongst that team and a newfound cohesion, Jack, and those guys are veterans. I think they understand what needs to be done, but you know they want to kick the Kings' ass super bad.
Well, the other is Derrick Walton Jr., who was a Sydney King a couple of years ago, so he's had a little bit of time, obviously, but he should return tomorrow night. That's the word we're hearing. It's just a question, well, how would you manage Derrick Walton Jr. going into tomorrow night?
Well, Andrew Gaze and I had a discussion with Derrick on Sunday about that injury, and Derrick felt that he was, ready to go then. but Andrew and I were both like, hey, be careful because the signals that your body sends can often be erroneous. And the last thing you want to do is have this injury extend into the Christmas period and your team hasn't really been able to play around you. But he's a quality player. I think the Phoenix will really thrive once he's back in the lineup, and fingers crossed that he's 100% and able to give them at least 20 good minutes on Friday night, Jack.
You'd bring him off the bench or would you start him?
No, I think I would start, although it's a tough one with this lineup currently constructed the way it is. It's been going really well, but I think the upside is Walton in the lineup. So let's go ahead. Let's try and find our natural rotation and substitution patterns as quickly as possible.
Well, it all starts tonight. Pre-game from 7 o'clock. Of course, check your local guides for Brisbane and Melbourne, followed by Perth and Tasmania. I was just looking at the Brisbane Bullets' first quarters, Ruck, just to go back to that point to finish off. They are really, really poor first quarters. They won 2 for the season, and they were minus 5.8 going into last week against Cairns. Now, they won that first quarter against Cairns by 5, but still, your point is a really good one. If they don't start well tonight, they're going to be in a world of pain, I think.
They got to get out of the blocks. And I just feel it's time to throw everything at Melbourne United, come out there, and even no need to play so cautious either. Like, take some risks. You're not going to look Melbourne United straight in the eyes and beat them. You're going to have to be shifty about your scheme, and you're not going to be able to be risk-averse the whole game to beat this to level of a team.
Well, I reckon you're on one. I can just sense that you're up for tonight's game. So don't waste all of your good stuff this morning. Go and have a rest, and we'll see you tonight.
All right, Jack. Always a pleasure.
Thanks for joining us on NBL Now, the best place to find all the latest news, injury updates, information, everything you need to know, of course, is at nbl.com.au, or download the NBL app for your chance to win $1,000 free. How good's that? Check it out.